Hello, today we're going to look at some examples of how to find reference angles. Alright, so depending on the quadrant that the angle terminates, we can formulate a general rule for finding reference angle. So for any positive angle between 0 and 360, if an angle is in quadrant 1, the reference angle is that angle. If the angle is in quadrant 2, you would take the reference angle, you would do 180 minus the reference angle. If the reference angle is in quadrant 3, it would be the reference angle minus 180. And if the reference angle is in quadrant 4, is 360 minus the angle. All right, so if the angle is greater than 360, we're going to keep subtracting 360 from the angle until it's between 0 and 360. And then we go back to our previous slide where we used the quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. And then if it's less than 0, we keep adding 360 until it's between 0 and 360, and then we go back to those steps. So of course, now let's do some examples. So we have 210, and 210 we have to determine which quadrant it's in. So I'm going to draw my little quadrant. So we know here is 0, here to here is 90, 180, 270, and then back around to a full 360. Okay, so 210, which quadrant is it in? It would have to be in quadrant, so this is quadrant 1, 2, this is quadrant 3. So 210 would have to be in quadrant 3. So let's go back to the rule for quadrant 3. Quadrant 3 says that we do the angle minus 180. So 210 minus 180 is 30. Oops, it's a big 0. So our angle is 0. All right, next, 101. Again, I would draw it out. And I'm going to stop here because I know that it has to be in quadrant 2. So that means that if it's in quadrant 2, it is 180 minus that angle. And it's 79 degrees. Oops. All right. Okay, we have 543. So this is greater than 360. So we keep subtracting from 360. So when I subtract the first time, I got 183. And 183 is between 0 and 160. So on my quadrants, I have 0, 90, 180. So that means that it has to be over here in quadrant 3. And so the rule, if it's in quadrant 3, is the angle minus 180. So 183 minus 180, my reference angle is 3. All right, negative 342. I'm going to keep adding 360 until I get to between 0 and 360. So negative 342 plus 360 one time gives me 18. All right, so 18 is in quadrant 1. Quadrant 1 says that if it's in quadrant 1, then it is that reference angle. So 18 is my reference angle. All right, negative 373. When I add 360 the first time, I got negative 13, which is still not between 0 and 360, so I'm going to add 360 one more time, and I get 347. So 347 is in quadrant 4. We'll draw it out though. So this is 0, 90, 180, 270. So it has to be over here because this is also 360. So it has to be in quadrant 4. So when it's in quadrant 4, it's the only time we don't deal with 180. We're going to subtract 360 from the angle. So 360 minus 347 is 13. So my reference angle is 13, and I hope that this helps.